Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajaka Vadyasto Tarasata Srimad Kula Churamani Sava Shastra Siddhanta Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Rupa Nuga Guru Bhagya ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhattaraganath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhattadas Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sarup Damodar Ramananda Rai ki jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Brinda ki jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandali ki jai. Kol Kartel ki jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan ki jai. Anita Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Okay, so here we are. Our first Sunday program since the end of the lockdown, and we are resuming that every Sunday, but still with, complying with the social distancing as required by the law, as much as we're able to, but we'll be broadcasting as much as we can from the East London Chaitanya Saraswat Mart on Sundays. Having said that, if you're watching this and you're a supporter of our mission, then I would like to appeal to you all to help us. You may or you may not know, but we've just finished the refurbishment of the loft in the temple. We've had a loft conversion, providing a very nice new bathroom and 2 new rooms for accommodation and a nice storeroom for the deities' dresses and paraphernalia. So a nice facility, but the building inspector, who has to sign it all off as safe and completed, sprang a bit of a what you would say if in America, a curved ball at us, I suppose, that we were not prepared for, we were not expecting, and therefore we had not budgeted for, before that they are able to sign off the works. We have to upgrade our fire facilities, or anti-fire facilities here in the temple. So that means we have to install a fully integrated fire alarm system, and on the existing floors, the first floor and the ground floor, we have to replace all the doors with fire resistant doors, fire check doors, and some of the walls have to be replaced with fire rated walls to separate various areas of the building. And until that's done, we are not able to use the new facilities in the loft that we have. So, and basically that's going to cost us £4,000 to do that, £4,000 that we hadn't budgeted for. So I'd like to appeal to everyone, if you can help us in some way, if you could please do that. Even if it's only £10, that every bit will help towards that. We have a GoFundMe page. You can see that, find that on links in the East London Facebook page and so on. You can find that. You can donate through that, or you can contact me directly to help us out. We already received through the GoFundMe page £25. So not a lot, but it's something. And also, independent of that, one of our devotees has given £500 towards the work. So gradually, we want to do other works here also, but imperatively, we need to raise £4,000 more or less immediately to complete the works that we've already done. So I'm a bit annoyed, let's say, to say the least, that they sprang this on us without informing us of this before we began the works. But there you are, that's just the way it is. But anyway, if anyone can help us in any way, large or small, please do get in touch. Please do help us with that, and you will definitely get the blessings of Sri Sri Guru Gauranga, Radha Shyam Sundar Giridhariju, and our Acharya Brinda, headed by Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And we will be able to continue with our service to their lordships and the Vaishnavas here at the East London Chaitanya Saraswat Math. So over the last few weeks, we've been studying the Upadeśāmṛta of Srila Rupa Goswami, and last week we were discussing verse 10, but we didn't get to finish that because the discussion went on quite a while. So I'll continue that. We were in the middle of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's commentary regarding that, his illumination. So what I'll do is I shall read the verse again in the verse translation, and then we'll continue with Srila Sridhar Maharaj's explanation or illumination of that verse. So it's verse 10 of Upadeśāmṛta by Srila Rupa Goswami, which is Karmi Bhya Parito Hare Priyataya Vyaktim Yayor Gyaninas Tebyo Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama Premaika Nishtas Tataha Tebyasta Pashupala Pankaja Drishas Tabyo Pisaradika Presta Tadvad Iyam Todiya Sarasitam Nashrayet Kahakriti. Jnanis are known to be more dear in all respects to Krishna than karmis. Devotees completely free from jnana are more dear than jnanis, and devotees fixed exclusively in prema are more dear than devotees completely free from jnana. The lotus-eyed gopis are more dear than them, and Sri Radhika is even more dear than the gopis. This lake of hers, Radhakund, is similarly dear to Krishna. Would any fortunate soul not take shelter here? So actually I think we will begin. We shall just reread the illumination of Srila Sridhar Maharaj from the beginning, because it's very informative as to the meaning of this verse, and as we didn't broadcast the last one, I think it's worth repeating that. So the illumination to this verse by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. He says, here we find the second verse in Śrī Upadeśāmṛta that describes a comparative gradation. So not the second verse of the Upadeśāmṛta, it's the 10th verse, but the second verse describing a comparative gradation. The first, which is the 9th verse, Vaikuṇṭaj Janito Vara, describes a gradation with respect to place. And here the second, Karmi Bhya Parito Harahe, describes a gradation with respect to person. In this way, a comparative study of the transcendental world is shown to us. So side by side, we have the development of the devotee and the development of the plane of devotion. Regarding the devotee, we have Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, and Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and then Gyan Shunya Bhakti, and that is Shuddha Bhakti. So, Mishra means mixed. So, Karma Mishra Bhakti means devotion mixed with karma. Jnana Mishra Bhakti mixed with Gyan or knowledge. And Yoga Mishra Bhakti, which is mixed with yoga and mysticism and so on. And then, as this progresses, this conversation progresses, through, in Bhagavad Gita we find this, then Gyan Shunya Bhakti. So Gyan Shunya Bhakti means, Guru Maharaj says, Shuddha Bhakti. So Shuddha Bhakti, Gyan Shunya Bhakti means not mixed with Gyan, above Gyan. Not that means devotion in ignorance, but devotion not dependent on Gyan. So that means real pure devotion is inspired through the heart by the will of Krishna, without any reference to the scripture or any Gyan and so on. So that is Shuddha Bhakti. Then within Shuddha Bhakti we find the rasas of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhura. Then within the higher rasas we find Swakiya and Parakiya rasa. Everything in all its intensity in Parakiya rasa culminates in Radharani's service. And where? At Radha Kund. We know through this comparative gradation that service reaches its zenith there. So we must seek out a comprehensive idea of the absolute whole, accommodating all. We are to deal with reality, not with the frame. What is what in the world of thought? Step by step we are to understand and adjust. We want that. We are not enchanted or captured by any mere form. We want to know the step-by-step gradual development in thought. We want a realistic view of the whole in gradation. Such scientific conception, such comparative study of the whole is possible. As it is possible in philosophy, so it is possible in religion. But for one who does not have such knowledge, the whole thing is like an immeasurable ocean. Those who have taste, who can grasp the criterion, can boldly classify everything according to that principle. So they find that there is Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, and Mishra Bhakti, or mixed Bhakti. Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, Yoga Mishra, and so many mixed or adulterated varieties. They find then that Shuddha Bhakti is further classified in a gradation according to whom it is dedicated. The general God conception, the Brahma conception, the Paramatma conception, and then the Bhagavan conception. Then within the Bhagavan conception, there are also so many forms, the various avatars, Narayan, Ramchandra, Dwarakesh Krishna, Mathuresh Krishna, and ultimately Brajesh Krishna. Then comes finer gradation according to differences in rasa, the highest of all being found in the camp of Radharani. In this way there is gradual improvement in both the service and the recipient of service. Through such comparison we may come to know what is what in the world of devotion. We find such conclusions here in gist in these advices of Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. So we must properly adjust ourselves accordingly with this aspiration. May our future direct us to move on and on towards Krishna consciousness, from deep to deeper to deepest. The chart has been supplied to us, so consider it and pray. Consider and want sincerely, and you will have. The gradation begins with karma. Kim karma, kima karmeti, kabayo pyarta mohitaha. This is from the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, what is karma and what is not karma is very difficult to understand. Even the scholars are befooled. Karma has infinite possibilities. Karma means to energize, and the result of that, the consequences, are unlimited. According to the posing, karma will fetch different results. So we are to understand karma in a more specific understanding, first of all, of the word. For most people, karma means action and reaction. You know, it's come into the common vernacular, and people use it all the time when something goes wrong. Oh, it's bad karma. They say bad karma, or my good karma. But karma doesn't mean just that. Karma means activity. Activity is the meaning of karma. And then the nuances of that, they are further discussed in Bhagavad Gita. So the next verse of Bhagavad Gita, in fact, karmano hyapi bodhabhyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanas cha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatahi. What is karma? What is vikarma? What is akarma? All of these are to be understood. Karma generally means action that is recommended by the scriptures. In particular, varnashram dharma. Vikarma means immoral action not recommended by the scriptures, and akarma means inaction. So, the next verse is karmanya karmaya pasched akarmani cha karma jaha. One who finds karma in akarma and akarma in karma is really intelligent. This means that by controlling our inner self, we get out of karma. Jogashta kuru karmani. Engage in karma free from attachment. When our work is properly adjusted and we do not want any particular result from our karma, then we are really situated in akarma. But when we want so many things in the mind, when the mind is fickle and always moving about, wanting this or that, and we do not check that, but at the same time we stop our external karma, then that is foolishness. When we stop all our physical activity, but mentally think of so many things, then we are actually engaged in karma. Karmani akarma. We may be seen externally to do many types of karma, but when we do not want any result, we are really situated in akarma. So not only the physical and external should be marked, rather our internal position should be marked very carefully. Nahi kaschit kanam api jatu tishta akarmakrit. Really, no one can stop all karma wholesale. Sharidad jatra picha tena prasiddhayed akarmana. Even if one leaves all karma, one still has to take food and go to the latrine, and that is also a type of karma. So to get out of karma does not mean that we should try to get out of all physical karma. Not only the physical attempt should be considered in karma, because the mind is also there, and that is the real seat of karma. The real cause is in the mind, mental desire. Kamana, vasana, is the actual karma, not something external. The physical is innocent. The culprit is the mind. If we do not move our physical limbs, but we go on mentally planning and planning, then we are committing karma. But if in our minds we are clear to obey the direction of God or Dharma, then our physical activity has no value. The mind is all important. The internal, the plan, the purpose, the impulse, the sankalpa, that is the all-important thing. As the mind says, so the body serves, but the body is innocent. Hatva pisa imalokan nahanti na nabidyate. From the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Even by destroying the whole universe, we may not do anything. This is also possible if we are physically and mentally possessed by the supreme authority as we do so. So physical activity should not be considered to be the criteria for whether our actions are good or bad. The valuation of karma is within. It is vasana. To want something separate, When the universal wave is passing and we want to put something special on it, when we do not want to adjust to the universal wave, but instead create a separate wave, then that is karma. And that will come to clash with the universal wave. So many waves are there, local and provincial interests. But the final wave, the most fundamental wave, is Krishna consciousness. We must come to an understanding of that wave, that harmony. Then we will not be engaged in karma, but we will be dancing in the universal wave. This is what is necessary. Without that, in whatever plane we may be, by participating and identifying with the different waves moving there, we will have to encounter a reaction. That is karma, to create a wave of separate interest in the world. So, we have to face this challenge internally. We must come into harmony with the nirguna wave of Krishna consciousness. Then there will be no karma. Otherwise, we are all creating so many different waves according to separate interests. That is all karma, and everyone is suffering from the reactions until those reactions clash with the higher wave and become destroyed. So internally, we must try to get out of the spirit of karma. We must try to be one with Krishna consciousness, the universal wave, and dance there within that. So Krishna says, Karmani evadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahetubur ma te sangos tvakarmani. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You have the responsibility only to discharge your duty, your quota, but you should never aspire for any particular consequence from your action. At the same time, don't be idle, don't be worthless. Go on discharging your duty independent of any consequence outside. This is karma yoga, which is the proper basis of devotion. Karma yoga means to give up the fall or the result, and as a duty to take on the work. Karma yoga is to do everything without attachment and with a higher aim. Not for selfish wishes and desires, kamana vasana. That ordinary purpose of life should be eliminated, and we should engage in niskarma kartabhya, performing our duties without desire because we have been ordered to by the scriptures and not for any separate interest of our own. This is dharma. It should be possible for us to conceive, this is my duty, and I must do it independent of what the effect may be. Then faith will grow within us, that the environment where we are living is nothing. It is of no importance or value to us. I do not care for this environment. I am only attached to my duty. I am doing that, whatever the result may be. I have no attachment to the present environment. I may die discharging my duty. I may die at any moment, but I must do my duty. With this strength we are to do, and automatically we will be free from this present environment, from Maya or misconception. We can have no attachment to the environment when we feel we have to do our duty proper, and we may risk our life at any moment in such action. If with such faith we want to discharge our duty, then attachment to our present environment will at once have to retire. We will be freed. When I came out of college, I strictly observed this principle of Bhagavad Gita for some time. I resolved that I must speak the truth and always speak the truth, regardless of whatever danger may come to me. Blindly I must do whatever I consider in this way to be my duty, without caring for any effect that may befall me, my courage began to increase. I got Himalayan courage, and I saw that the whole world was like a ball of clay in my hand. It was nothing. I came into consciousness of such a high force within the universe that this earth became like a ball in my hand. I felt it myself. This is Srila Maharaj speaking, not me, of course. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. I may face any danger at any moment, so I must be apathetic to such a great degree that I can perform every action, knowing that I may have to face death, and if I am to do my duty rightly. Any danger may come, and I must not care for that. The soul must take a very high position. Then the atmosphere will be changed. A diametrical change, a revolutionary change, will take place in the heart. We won't care for anything, only duty. And how to understand our duty? That is given by the scripture. As much as we can understand it with our reason and conscience, we shall do that without caring for anything else in the world. Popularity, popular opinion, pratishta, money, or any other valuable thing of the world, all are down below. Our whole concentration will be only on our duty, our sense of duty. All else will vanish if we strictly follow this principle of karma yoga. Karmani evadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karmafal heturbur ma te sangos tvakarmani. This is from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Don't stop, but do your duty, careless of any result that may face you.
You mean individually at home or in a temple?
Everywhere.
Because sometimes some people get upset, then you are doing duty, but people get upset, so don't worry about them. And
no, what you conceive as your duty, if it is really that, then you must do that. But basically that means, what is your duty to Guru, Vaishnava and Krishna? That duty that is what Guru Maharaj is talking about here. We have so many duties in the world, isn't it? But finally Krishna says, you abandon all of that. Sarva dharmam parityaja. What you conceive as your duty in this world, forget that, just surrender to me. So in this specific case, we have some duty, a duty to our family, duty to our society, all of those things. And we should do that duty, but with detachment, not expecting any result. You see, this is the basic thing in this world, is that we must, whatever we do, we're expecting a result from that. And that's just normal. That's the normal thing. No one would go into work if they're not going to get paid, isn't it?
No, because what I'm thinking about Gurudev, what he had taught us, that be tolerant, give honor to others, and so how can we, if you just don't care for anyone and do the duty?
No, it means that nothing is higher than that, than your duty in this context. So it doesn't mean that when Guru Maharaj says to be apathetic to the world, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to be callous or cruel. It just means you're indifferent to that.
It means just carry on.
Just carry on, do your duty, and don't worry. If someone is unhappy with you, that's their problem, isn't it? So you do your duty as you conceive it to be, and leave the result to Krishna. This is Krishna's teaching us. He tells Arjuna, you have the right to do your duty, but the fall of that, the fruit of that, that's not yours to enjoy. That belongs to me. So this in itself is a very difficult concept for most people to grasp. That they're entitled to do their duty in the world, but the result of that is not theirs. The result is his, for Krishna, for the satisfaction of Krishna. And this isn't even we're not even in the level of devotion proper. we're in the level of karma yoga. So the general teaching of Bhagavad Gita is karma yoga. Do your duty and dedicate the result of that to me. This is Krishna's advice. But this doesn't come even to the level of Shuddha Bhakti. This is still karma yoga. And karma yoga becomes bhakti yoga when it is niskarma karma yoga. That means that when it's done without any expectation of the result to come to you. So this is what Guru Maharaj is speaking about here.
We have to tolerate because we know that.
Tolerate? We must tolerate everything.
Be respect, be humble and tolerate little bit.
In the world, the best lesson we can learn is to tolerate.
Yes.
And Srila Gurudev said, of the three things Mahaprabhu taught in that verse, humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others, that tolerance is the most effective, will give you everything.
It's shortcut to bhakti.
Yes, because you can fake humility, and you can fake giving honor to others, but you can't fake tolerance. So if you can actually genuinely be tolerant of everything that comes to face you in the world, then you'll become, as Guru Maharaj said, the whole world will become like a ball of clay in your hand. If you just dutiful, do your duty. So often Guru Maharaj would say, until love comes, then be dutiful. And love will come through duty. As our goal is love of Krishna, but that's not something that happens by some mystical process. That happens by performing your duty, and then when Krishna is satisfied with you, then he opens that love to you. He bestows that love upon you. And then everything is guided by an inner intuition rather than by a sense of duty. But until that becomes a reality to you, then you have to follow the duty as prescribed in the scripture, as given by the Vaishnavas, as given by Gurudev. That will be our duty.
Even to think about bet something is karma, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not the activity.
Mind.
It's why you are doing it. That's like Srila Prabhupada says in the beginning of his commentary of Bhagavad Gita. It's better to be an honest sweeper of the street than a charlatan meditator. So, people may regard somebody who's achieved much in, meditation and yoga and so on, and may think they're a highly spiritually evolved person. But if their purpose for doing that is only to gain fame and followers and money and all of these things, then the honest man sweeping the street is better than that.
In the Bhagavatam it says, mind is controller of sense.
Yes.
So in Jad Bharata, he's explaining to King.
Yes, so mind, if you can control the mind, if you can master the mind, then the mind becomes your ally. But until then, the mind is just pulling us here and there, directing us here and there, and we're the slave of the mind. So Gita is teaching us how to master our mind. And who becomes the master of their mind? They become the master of their senses. And who is the master of their senses? The first verse of Upadeśāmṛta says, they are fit to teach the whole world. So, we can hold a great position by strictly following this principle. We will not care for any of the forces of nature. The whole world may go to one side, and we will go single-handedly to the other. This is karma yoga. Mr. Gandhi followed this to a certain extent, but his objective was different. The political freedom of a limited group was his aim. But his policy was that at every moment, without doing any harm to anyone, he wanted to follow whatever his inner voice said. He stood by the side of his inner voice, always, neglecting popular opinion and all, but its objective was not very high according to us. Mere political emancipation for a particular group, that's a small object. So he had a good means, but for a limited end. The highest end is Krishna according to us, according to Mahaprabhu. In Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu asked Rai Ramananda about Sadhya Sadhana Tattva. What is our destination and how can we attain it? Please explain these things. And Ramananda Rai first answered with the conception of Varnashram Dharma. Varnashrama Charabhata Purushena Paraha Pumam Vishnu Aradyate Panta Nanyatato Karanam. By faithfully discharging our Swadharma, the respective duties that are given to us within Varnashram Dharma, the duties of the Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and the ashrams, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, we can go forward. When we do these imperative duties that come to us simply as our duty and not for any specified purpose, then that is karma yoga. The basis of this is that everyone is guided by the understanding that spirit is above matter, that neglecting matter and appreciating spirit soul consciousness is in our best interest. And this is done systematically in a group by observing Varnashram Dharma. Just as the Army, Navy and Air Force work together in an organized way, so Varnashram Dharma is the march of a nation, a mass movement from nescience to science, from matter towards spirit. But Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Dev told Ramananda, Eho bhaya, age kaha ara. This is superficial, go deeper. Ramananda replied, Krishna karma pana sarva sadhyasar. Whatever you do, offer it to him. That is called karma mishra bhakti. Observing our duties within Varnashram Dharma has only an indirect relation with Narayan. But if we directly and consciously offer our karma to Narayan, then our life will be more successful. Jat karoshi, jadashnasi, jaj juhoshi, dadashi jat. Jat tapasya sikunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. This is the 9th canto of Gita. Whatever you do, try to offer it to me for my satisfaction, and you will make progress gradually. And again, Mahaprabhu replied, Eho bhaya. This is also superficial. Go deeper. Even that which is considered to be pure from the standard of this world is impure when it is considered from the nirguna conception of those that work in obedience to the inspiration of Krishna. We are to do anything and everything as we have received the order of the higher. That is service. In the beginning, whatever we do is according to our mental calculation of loss and gain. And then in some way, we try to connect it with God consciousness. Connecting mundane activity with God consciousness is Krishna karmarpana, knowing fully well that both good or bad, according to the mundane consideration, are wholly wrong. To pray for direction from the upper and then act accordingly will be a higher stage. Dvaite bhadra bhadra gyan shaba manu dharma. E bhala e manda e shaba brahma. Amidst duality of material existence, all notions of good and bad are functions of the mind. This is good and this is bad. Both are misunderstanding. Both good dreams and bad dreams are false. Similarly, in our mundane calculation, good and bad are both false. Whenever we are in a mundane stage, we cannot but engage in mundane work. So anyhow, to connect it with the Lord, to give the result to him, is good. But here we rise up to a plane where we shall reject all such good and bad, wait for his direction, and then proceed accordingly. In the lower stage, according to our previous impressions and lower understanding, we do things and take them to our guardian. In the higher stage, we do not do anything independently. Rather, we act according to the order of the guardian. A son may go out and earn some money in a good or bad way by black marketing or anything like that, and then offer it to his guardian. That is one level. And the higher thing is for him to not do anything without the order of his guardian. That is higher. Then Ramananda proposed karma tyag, swadharma tyag, sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Completely disassociate from the duties that you think are proper for you in your present position. Give up these duties and come forward towards the Lord exclusively. Bal Gangadhar Tilak gave a very good description of this verse in his edition of Bhagavad Gita. He said, in this last verse, the Lord has distributed nectar on a golden plate. And Srila Guru Maharaj incidentally called this the clarion call, the clarion verse of Bhagavad Gita, the clarion call of Krishna. Leave everything. Whatever I've taught you so far, he tells Arjuna, whatever you conceive as your duty, your dharma, your everything, leave that and just surrender to me. And don't think that you'll be overcome by sin for doing that, for leaving your duty of this world. I will protect you. Don't be afraid. So Ramananda Rai also cited this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Agyaivam gunandosham mayadishtam apiswakam dharmam santyajaya sarvam mambajeta satu satamaha. The duties that are ordered by me in the scriptures for different stages are constitutional methods of progress. But now I am telling you to give them up and take up the path of revolution. Give up everything and come to me, and I shall protect you. Wherever we may be according to our karma doesn't matter at all. From there, we should give up everything and jump towards Krishna. You are everything to me. I want you. The Lord is calling us. All phases of duty should be abandoned. The ultimate end is to take refuge under my feet, and you will not have to be pained for that. You will be amply rewarded. Leave aside all conceptions of duty that you can imagine and understand. Give up everything you have acquired so far. So much risk you are to take. Whatever conception of duty you have so far, give it up entirely. The Krishna conception of Godhead is a revolutionary thing. If you hear about my relationship with you, it will seem to be quite revolutionary. You have no independence. You are mine, wholesale mine. So independently you want me, and you want to engage in some transaction with me. You think you can come to me for business? You are mine, wholesale, every inch of you. You are not outside of me. Your proper vocation is my service. But you want to come to me for an independent business transaction, thinking that you are a separate party and I am a separate party. Give up all such conceptions. You are mine wholesale. This is Krishna's call. This is the truth. Prepare yourself for that. Sharanagati, Krishna also told Arjuna. What did Krishna tell Arjuna? Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuro mammi vaishyati satyam te pratijani priyoshime. Always think of me. Be my devotee. Worship me. Offer obeisance to me. And I promise you that I am everything. I am not deceiving you. You are my friend. You are my favorite. At least I won't deceive you. Plainly speaking, Arjuna, I am everything for you. Painfully, the Lord speaks of himself to his friend Arjuna. In this way, we are called to cut off all connection and come towards the Lord. This is called karma tyag or swadharma tyag. It is wonderful that Mahaprabhu then replied to Ramananda Rai, Eho bhaya age kaha ara. This is also superficial. Here you are jumping, you are accepting the revolutionary path, but you have not got anything yet. You are taking a risk to get the desired result, but it cannot be accepted that just because you took the risk and jumped towards Krishna, that you have attained everything, and that is all. So, eho bhaya age kaha ara. This is also superficial. Go deeper. Then Ramananda proposed Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na shochati na kankshati. Sarma Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. Also from the 18th chapter of the Gita. Brahma Bhuta. One has fully realized that one is not a factor of this material domain. One understands that one is a part of the conscious level, that one is Atma, a particle of consciousness. Prashanatma, one's heart is satisfied. One finds peace within oneself because one becomes independent of the misery of the mortal world. Nashokchati, one does not mourn out of affinity for mortal things. And Nakankshati, one is fully aware of the transient nature and insubstantiality of all material things. So one does not want anything mundane. One has no attachment for loss and gain of this world. One doesn't care for it and is not affected by it. One neither mourns if one loses anything here, nor becomes joyful if one gains anything here. One feels that all loss and gain is equal in this mundane life. Sama sarvesha bhuteshu. One sees everyone as equal and is in balance above the principle of exploitation. Mad bhaktim labate param. One with these qualities can acquire pure devotion to me. With Jnana Mishra Bhakti, we have no affinity for anything of the mundane world, and our serving attitude can develop its pure character. It will be in the spiritual plane because it is not mixed with any mundane aspiration. Only at this stage do we get the opportunity for a higher type of service. Mad bhaktim labate param. Now you are a candidate for para-bhakti, higher bhakti, pure bhakti. When bhakti is saguna, or mixed with identification with the mundane, it is not pure, nirguna. Proper bhakti is ananya bhakti, kevala bhakti, exclusive. And that is possible only when you have withdrawn yourself from the charm of the mortal world. If after that any devotion to me awakens in your heart, that is para-bhakti. And Mahaprabhu replied to Ramananda Rai, Eho bhaya, this Jnana Mishra Bhakti is also external. Yes, one is in the right position and one is aspiring after the truth, but at this stage one still does not have the truth as yet. One's position is not sure, and it is possible one may fall back from that position. At this stage we become eligible to enter the higher domain, but still we have not entered. We have acquired eligibility when mundane acquisition has no charm for us. We must become fully relieved of all sorts of attachment in this mundane world. Name, fame, money, women, delicious food, and so on. Only then is it possible for us to enter into that higher land to begin our real life. So Jnana Mishra Bhakti is a marginal position. In it we have no special consideration for devotees. Everyone is equal to us, and we are both free from concern of loss and gain in the mortal plane, but also have not yet acquired affinity and affection for the land of devotion. Then Ramananda Roy said, Gyan Shunya Bhakti, Sadhya Shara. Non-calculative devotion to the Lord should be our position, wherefrom we shall go further. When we come to the level of Gyan Shunya Bhakti, we do not know why, but we feel some taste in the service of Krishna, and we do not care for anything else. We cannot understand why, because we are beyond the level of calculation of loss and gain. And without any such calculation, we feel some automatic tendency towards the service of Krishna. We find that very tasteful, wherever we may be. We may be a Brahmin, we may be a Pandit, or we may be a fool. It doesn't matter. Through Varnashram Dharma, good karma, we can gradually develop some adaptability. But Bhagavat Dharma, Vaishnavism, is not directly based on that adaptability created by Varnashram Dharma. It is of another peculiar type. It is based on taste and not on intelligence, calculation, karma, or anything else. Its basis is ruchi, taste, which comes from sukriti. In whatever position we are in, we may not be a Brahmin, and we may even be a Chandala, which means a dog-eater. But if we can somehow collect a little bit of taste for the Leela of Krishna, and then with the help of that, come into the association of the sadhus, and develop our taste for him further, then we can have direct promotion towards the Lord. Anyone, be they a Malecha or a Brahmin, with Shraddha, Ruchi, taste, and Sadhu Sangha, can go directly to Vaikuntha. They only need to find in their heart that they have some causeless attraction towards the Supreme Authority, whereas a qualified Brahmin may have to go downwards if he cannot develop any taste for Narayan. So Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ata pumbir dvija shrestha varnashram vibhagasha svanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. O best of the twice born, the ultimate accomplishment of dharma performed properly by human beings according to the divisions of varna and ashram is the satisfaction of Hari. Varnashram Dharma must result in the satisfaction of the Lord, Haritoshanam. Dharma svanustita pungsam vishvakshena katasujaha notpadaya jatiratim shrama eva hikevalam. If the system of duties for the Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Trudra, and ashrams, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi, helps us to attain Krishna Bhakti, then it's all right. But if it fails to take us to that goal, then it is a failure. It commits suicide. It becomes Asura Varnashram, a demonic social system. If we have perfectly performed our duties, but that has not produced within us any devotion to the Lord, then it is all a failure. It has all gone in vain. The general characteristics of Brahmins is that they have more attraction towards spirit than matter, towards consciousness rather than material property. They have appreciation for character and adherence to the truth, even at the cost of material property. Kshatriyas prefer to organize material things under the direction of the Brahmins and guide the general mass from matter towards spirit. Vaishyas supply finances for this purpose, and this is Varnashram Dharma. But Vaishnavas have a more specified and clear conception of spirit than Brahmins. Spirit means person, both the Supreme Person and ourselves as meager particles of spirit. But we are persons, Purusha, and we are to dedicate ourselves to the Supreme Person, the Purushottama. So while the Brahmins have preference for spirit over matter, Vaishnavas come in closer connection with spirit because Vaishnavas have a personal conception of spirit, and they render service unto the spiritual, supreme person. Brahmananam sahasrebhya satradyadji vishishyate. Satradyadji sahasrebhya sarve vedanta paragha. Sarve vedanta vitkotya Vishnu bhakti vishishyate. This is from the Garuda Purana. Amongst thousands of Brahmins, one is qualified to perform sacrifices. Among thousands of such Brahmins, one is adept in all aspects of the Vedanta. And amongst thousands of those such Brahmins who know the Vedanta in full, one becomes a devotee of Vishnu. A Brahman is one who has Brahma Gyan, who has withdrawn from the charm of this mundane world and is engaged in consideration of Brahma. But the position of one who is engaged in the service of Vishnu, who is above Brahma, is higher. And we're talking Brahma as Brahman, not Lord Brahma, the four-headed creator. As Vishnu Gyan is always above Brahma Gyan, so the Vaishnava is always above the Brahman. Mahaprabhu next replied to Ramananda Roy, Eho haya age kaha ara. Yes, this is it. This may be admitted, but now go further. Prior to this, Mahaprabhu repeatedly said, this is external, this is dismissed. But here, when Ramananda mentions Gyan Shunya Bhakti, Mahaprabhu accepts. This is because Gyan Shunya Bhakti is based on internal taste rather than calculation. If ever, as we are wandering throughout the infinite world, according to our karma, we can come into contact with a real sadhu, a real agent of the Absolute, and acquire a small quantity of ruchi, a spark of spontaneous attraction towards the center, Krishna, then that is reliable. Calculative things are not reliable, nor are the imposed duties of Varnashram. The heart's tendency, love, prema, the sincere tendency, that is the seed of raga, is reliable. Because we can rely on that, Mahaprabhu said, Eho haya age kaha ara. Prior to this, all of Ramananda's answers excluded sadhu sangha and shraddha, but these are the primary necessities. Without them, our higher progress is not possible. We must meet the Lord's agent, and we must have some faith in his agent. The minimum demand in the bhakti school is this: Naham vipro nachap nara patir napi vaisho na shudro naham varni nacha griha patir no vanasto jatirva. I'm not a Brahman, nor a Kshatriya, nor a Vaishya, nor a Shudra, and I am neither a Brahmachari, nor a Grihasta, nor a Vanaprastha, nor a Sannyasi. Swadharma, Yoga, Gyan, none of these are actually necessary. The minimum necessity is his agent's association and faith in that association. Without that, it is impossible. Departmental knowledge about this, that, and so many things is not necessary. The minimum necessity is Shraddha in the disciple for the genuine preceptor. Shraddha is the visa. Without Shraddha, we will relish tidings, with Shraddha, we will relish tidings of the Lord. Whatever statement or relation comes to us about him from the genuine souls, we will very earnestly attend to. What sort of charming thoughts are coming down now from the mystical world? Here lies my real fortune. With such eagerness, we will ardently hear from the lips of the genuine agents. There we will find that we have acquired some peculiar, incomparable, and unprecedented taste for the service of Krishna. We will want to receive that current from the sadhu and submit there. We will not know or care to know good or bad, this or that, or anything else, we will find there a very peculiar taste for the Leela of Krishna, and that will become our life. We won't know how or why Krishna Leela is so tasteful to us, but we will find it to be so. In Gyan Shunya Bhakti, we go beyond calculation. We are captured by the particular taste of loving service, and we run madly to those places where Krishna Katha is occurring. Inquiry into the non-essential is a bar to devotion. The example given for Gyan Shunya Bhakti by Ramananda Rai is this: Gyane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti san mukaritan bhavidya bhatam stane stita shruti gatam tanu ban manobhir jay prayaso jita jito pyasi tais trilokam. This is from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Throwing away all endeavor based on Gyan, and fully honoring with their body, mind and words the narrations about you they have heard resounded by the sadhus, those who live situated in their respective positions certainly conquer you, O Lord, who are generally unconquerable throughout the three worlds. Srimad Bhagavatam discourages any sort of scrutinizing knowledge. There is no end to that. If we take up the path of knowing, Jnana Marg, it won't help us reach the real goal. But faith will help us. The path of knowledge may help us partly to consolidate our faith in the beginning, the Madhyamadikari. But real help will come only from the plane of faith. Brahma, the four-headed Brahma, himself said, Janata eva janantu kim bahuktya name Prabhu manaso vapasu vacho vaibhavam tava gocharaha. Those who are very proud of their intellect may know many things. Let them boast of their fruits. But my conclusion is, O Lord, I do not know anything. You are infinite, and your ways and your every movement are infinite. It is rather insanity to go to inquire about the ways and nature of the infinite Lord. Submission and the aspiration to have his grace, to pray for his grace, is the right way to come to our desired end. Let others be proud of their knowledge produced by analyzing this thing and that thing. There's no end to it. If we study a particle of sand for many lives, we will not find any end to it. So we shouldn't go to that side. It is wild goose chasing. We should come directly through the favorite disciple of the Lord and begin service as much as we are given permission. Gradually we are to go towards the Ananda Marga, or the path of joy. There is Satchit and Ananda, eternity, consciousness and bliss. From Chit, we should go directly to Ananda. We need not waste our energy on Chit and Sat. We are all desirous of Ananda, fulfillment, ecstasy. So let us try to start our journey directly towards Anandam, eliminating Sat and Chit. On the way, to a certain extent, the help of Sat and Chit should be taken. So only take as much as is necessary and avoid the rest. No ambition should be fulfilled in their company. The intrinsic demand of our nature is for Ananda, Rasa, Sukha, happiness. So let us journey directly towards Ananda, Krishna. That is possible through devotion and dedication, through faith. Die to live. Dive deep into reality. Gyan Shunya Bhakti is the world of surrender, and that area is so high, noble, great and fulfilling. That can come down to us, and only that can take us into the plane of love and affection. We hope to see and to live in that plane which is not of this mundane affection and love, but of love of the Absolute. So complete surrender to put ourselves at His disposal, at His mercy, is the path. Our earnestness, our eagerness should increase, not our knowledge. Bhagavatam has come to teach us of such a level where knowledge is futile. This is a wonderful thing. Knowledge is useless. It is an enemy, a covering, and devotion is the real plane of life. Automatic service to the center is life proper, and all else are covers. The very definition of devotion is such, jnana karmadi anavritam. Once, Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, used to give an example. It is seen in a fair that a bamboo pole is smeared with oil or ripe bananas so that it is very slippery. Then a man from the side of the pole says, if anyone can climb this pole, they will be given such and such reward. But from wherever anyone grabs onto the pole, they simply slide down. They cannot go up. It's so slippery that they can only slide back down. This is the Aroha Panta, the ascending method, which the Jnanis and Yogis try to follow. Apart from the knowledge gathered by the ascending method, there is also knowledge which is based on pranipat, pariprashna, and seva, surrender, inquiry, and service. That is not to be eliminated. That is proper knowledge which takes us to the final thing, and which is based on the consciousness that we are finite. If we who are finite are going to know the infinite, then the real principle that must be there is that we must try to satisfy the infinite so that he will come to us, descend to us, and reveal what is to be known about him. This sort of knowledge should be admitted. So it is misconception of real karma and real knowledge that is eliminated, not karma and jnana themselves. Karma means in general vilas, movement. That should be retained, and jnana for the regulation of service activity should also be retained. Bhagavan bhajaniya guna vishishta. Our fulfillment of life is in the service of the Lord. And that will take us into the plane where at every step we shall feel that our life is becoming successful and finding more and more fulfillment. Such great magnanimity and such a noble substance is found in the Lord's service. By giving our everything to him, we become the gainer more and more. Then everything is good. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadyate. So pure, real jnana will lead us to the proper place, to service. So jnana and karma are not to be condemned in their real spirit, but the present forms of karma and jnana, which have captured us with the satanic ideas of enjoyment and renunciation, they should be eliminated. Knowledge that encourages the spirit of renunciation, cutting off connection with everything, with the entire environment, thinking that all is bad, should be eliminated. And karma, when its basis is selfishness, either small or extended selfishness, should be eliminated. But karma, movement in general, and knowledge proper should be encouraged when they do not lead to exploitation or renunciation. Still, generally we refer to karma and jnana as two enemies. This is found in the definition of bhakti given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Anya bilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. Anya bilas means fleeting desires, baseless temporary desires, as well as whimsical questions with no principle, basis, or law. These must be left. Then karma, that is material energy, physical power, and the gift of the present civilization, bigyan, science. These are all our enemies. We must see how to get out of the clutches of this present civilization of exploitation. Then Gyan must be left, the attempt to completely withdraw from this world of exploitation and take shelter only in some type of deep and infinite slumber, samadhi, be it Brahma Samadhi or Prakriti Samadhi, is something like that. Either in Viraja, the highest, crudest conception of this worldly energy, or in Brahmaloka, the outermost conception of the real world of Vaikuntha. Adi means yoga. That also must be eliminated. This is a slight difference between there is a slight difference between Gyan and yoga. Yogis engage in the search for the innermost substance. Anur, Aniyam, the smallest of the small, the all-pervading element living in the innermost position of every atom. But this too will not lead to the highest fulfillment of our life. Adi also means shatilya, or slothfulness, or indifference towards attempts that are necessary for the service of Krishna. One who has a slight drop of Krishna bhakti will naturally become apathetic to all else. Mahaprabhu asked us to take to Gyan Shunya Bhakti. This is his recommendation. Eliminate both ignorance and knowledge, and try to surrender to the affectionate heart of your affectionate superior. Surrender to your guardian's guardianship. This is Gyan Shunya Bhakti. Don't take the responsibility and risk of calculation, of reading of the environment on your own shoulders. Rather, surrender to the sweet will of the highest dictator. He is a dictator because law is for us, not for him. He is above law. So take shelter in the creator of law. Then you will be fearless, and you will be at liberty if you can rise up to that level. Sincere and perfect dependence on the dictator who is above law is Gyan Shunya Bhakti. It is just like a child in its mother's lap. It is intuitive affection. That is the highest position for us. Gyan Shunya Bhakti means that we need not bother ourselves with good and bad. We need only to stick to one line, surrender to his will, his sweet will. That is another plane, even though it is unforeseen from this side. Mujanti Jatsuryaha. Not only ordinary men, but great scholars are benumbed by him. They cannot follow or understand. Scholars are those who depend on knowledge, and they say, we cannot understand what you mean by Gyan Shunya Bhakti, that this is the highest. We can't follow this. How is it possible? It is possible, and we should give up hope in our defective sense. That is the highest attainment of living, to live in the land of mercy, attraction, and love. That is beauty, that is charm, the land where the wholesale sacrificed souls live. All are self-forgetful there in the plane of surrender. And that is the highest plane of our life. Wow, this goes on forever. This was announced by Mahaprabhu as Gyan Shunya Bhakti. It is very difficult to understand. How can we leave Gyan, or light? Without light, how can we see or move? It seems impossible. Yet we are told that Gyan Shunya Bhakti is the highest position that we can ever aspire after. In that plane, everything is automatic, like a computer. Everything is being done mechanically. But it is living and affectionate, and not like a material machine, a dead thing. There we will find that vitality grows in its very highest form. It is not an abode of dead persons. Rather, there we find the fullest play. Every part, everything is encouraged by the sweetness, the ananda, which takes the lead in the movement there. So Mahaprabhu says, don't bother yourself with inquiry based on knowledge, or with trying to become a master, as in the present scientific civilization. The karmis want to bring everything under their control. They want to become the greatest controllers. And the Gyanis want to know everything, what is in every nook and corner. But there is no necessity for that, or real charm in that. Only heartfelt service of the most loving Lord is necessary. So Mahaprabhu eliminated the karmis and Gyanis and proclaimed Gyan Shunya Bhakti. It is a particular thing. In Gyan Shunya Bhakti we find no inquiry and no doubt. Knowledge is necessary to satisfy and remove doubt, and doubt is an enemy to straight service. So this should be left aside. Faith should guide us to where all are protected. Under the protection of faith, we shall live and move. We shall be optimistic. Faith is optimistic, while knowledge is suspicious. It is based on apprehension, with skepticism in the background. Faith is natural. Knowledge is indirect, but faith is direct. Knowledge and inquiry are the negative side of faith. We don't like this sense of necessity to verify faith. We want to be born and die in the land of faith, where no gentleman ever deceives anyone. We don't want to live in the plane of skepticism, doubt, inquiry, and satisfaction based only on these. This is all calculation. Faith is the normal tendency, and in such normal tendency there is no deceit. We want to live in that land where even in dreams deception is impossible, where deception and thus inquiry, knowledge, verification and all such things are absent. We want to live in that plane where everything is automatic. That is Gyan Shunya Bhakti. Shraddharatir Bhaktir Anukramishyati. The real root of existence lives in that quarter. The Absolute does not allow himself to become a victim of anyone's doubt, inquiry and skepticism. He does not like that he will have to hold himself up against you and your skepticism as to whether he is or whether he is not, or whether you will be deceived or not. All such concerns are poverty of the heart. In the gradation of development from Gyan Shunya Bhakti, we come to Prema Bhakti, Kritva Harim Prema Bhajam, from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The extraordinary power of Prema Bhakti is that she can convert the autocrat, the Supreme Lord, into the loving friend of anyone who takes to the path. This quality of devotion has such a wonderful power. She can make Hari, the absolute good, loving and affectionate towards you. She can force the Lord to befriend you and act in your favor. When a great general comes home and his infant son takes him by the finger and draws him towards some direction, then he happily goes that way, wherever he may be led. This is the capacity of such devotion, Sarup Shakti Prema, the highest stage of devotion. Prema is so powerful, such extraordinary power is in her hand that she can force the autocrat to work on behalf of his beloved servants. If you march on in pursuit of mastership over the world, then the demon of the reactions to your actions will come, break your neck and drink your blood. But Prema Bhakti can put the infinite in your hand. She can bring him within your fist. In the presence of Prema Bhakti, power has no power. Power becomes powerless. The charming substance is so powerful that in the land of such devotion, power is useless. And rather, power becomes the servant in that place. That land of loving service is so high, so noble, and so variegated. Power and knowledge both vanish when love divine enters. And the acme, the full conception of love divine, is in Madhura Rasa. Therein there is also gradation, and ultimately it vanishes into Śrī Radhika's holy feet. All prema emanates from one. But what is that prema? Prema, love, is the tendency to serve. Das koribetan more deha premadana. Mahaprabhu prays, please accept me as your slave and give me a salary in terms of prema. Let me acquire real love for you, your own, and everything that belongs to you. So prema means self-giving, self-distribution, the tendency to distribute oneself. Prema is that which will help us most intensely engage ourselves in service. Prema will excite us more and more for service. Why? Prema moves in a circular way. The remuneration for prema is the tendency to engage more in the service to the object of our love. So it is continuous, it is dynamic. It is not that one will acquire prema and then feel, oh, now I'm a king, I shall enjoy this. I have no necessity of engaging in any further service. Such a stage will never come, because prema itself is what promotes the spirit of service. Prema actuates us more and more towards the service of the object of our love. So service will acquire prema, and prema will induce us to serve. In other words, the interest will be converted into capital. Betan mori deha premadana. Please give me a salary of prema. This means more and more interest will accrue. That interest will again be added to the capital. Then more interest will accrue, and so the cycle will continue. We shall serve, and the remuneration for our service will be more and more tendency to serve. The world of dedication is thus just the opposite of the world of exploitation, whereas much as we enjoy, we are to incur debt. Karma, lust, and prema, love, are opposites. Karma, lust, and prema, love, are opposites. We should not misunderstand lust to be love. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kame preme dekabhai, lakshanete bhedanai, tabu kama prema nohihaya. Apparently, there is no difference between this lust and love. Still, you must be fully confident that lust is never love. Charma mama samaya. Lust is concerned only with flesh and blood, but prema chidananda dhamma. Prema is conscious and spiritual. It is the highest acme of spiritual experience. Prema is never mundane, never an affair of the material sphere. This is the distinction between them. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Atta eva kama preme bahuta antara, kama anda tama prema nirmala bhaskara. Although karma and prem are apparently similar, they are actually opposites. One is just like dense darkness, and the other is like the brightest sun. This differentiation is the all-important thing. Karma and prem are just opposite to each other. They are like the Sumeru and Kumeru, the North Pole and the South Pole. Atmendriya priti bancha tare balikama, Krishnendriya priti ichcha dare premanama. Seeking pleasure for our own senses and ego is lust, karma, and seeking the satisfaction of Krishna is love, prema. One is a most nasty thing, and the other is the most divine thing. They may appear to be similar to the ordinary person, and they may not be able to detect the difference between them. But to anyone who can understand and examine the inner substance of things, the vast distinction between the two is detectable. Karma and prema are similar, but yet opposite. Just as an object and its reflection are. The highest peak of a tree standing on the bank of a lake is seen in its reflection to be the lowest. Similarly, the highest thing there is reflected here as the lowest. Karma is the perverted reflection of prema. Karma is self-centered, sense-centered, and prema is Krishna-centered. Center-centered. One is the end of the outer current and the other is the end of the inner current. Ego, the nasty ego and sense satisfaction take us away from Krishna and searching for Krishna, finding through theistic development the all-accommodating loving center, Krishna, above Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. And then trying to merge into his interest is just the opposite. This is rare even for liberated souls. What to speak of so many fallen souls in bondage with some nasty idea? Srila Rupa Goswami says, from the time I received a touch of just the shadow of real Krishna Prem, this worldly sense pleasure became so nasty. Jadabadi mama chelta, Krishna padarabinde, nava nava rasa damani ujatam rantum ashit. Tadabadi bata nari sangame samjamane, bhavati mukha vikara shushtu nisti vanam cha. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When I came in connection with Krishna consciousness of different types of astounding ecstatic joy, then from that time, if any of this human sensualism comes to my mind, then my whole figure recoils and some spit comes to my tongue. This means some extreme hatefulness for that thing comes within us. So on one side is a noble thing, and the other side such a nasty thing. The sense pleasure which may have by union of the male and female is the most nasty thing, but its opposite in connection with Krishna is the noblest thing. Karma is to become a slave to sense pleasure, flesh things, and prema is the soul's highest reach in the domain of high and noble sacrifice. Just as one's selfish love for one's family and love for one's country are opposites, and one is to sacrifice one's family interests for the interest of the country, so we should give up negligent parts and engage in wholesale sacrifice for the center of the whole. Prema is to engage in wholesale dedication for the satisfaction of Krishna, and karma is to try to utilize Krishna for our own personal satisfaction. This is the most dangerous thing. So this difference should be grasped, as should all the different stages of life found throughout Bhuva, Shah, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satya, Viraja, Brahmaloka and Parabyom. If we can follow the steps properly in this way, then we can easily catch what is what. The steps must not be ignored. We are to recognize the supersubjective. We are subjects, and this world is our object. But the subject of ourselves, the supersubject, should be recognized, and then again the subject of that supersubject. In this way we may progress towards the highest subjective world of consciousness. Then we shall reach the land of love divine, prema. So there's still quite a lot to go of that, so I'm going to stop there today. It's a very long purport. Anyone have a question regarding that or anything?
Yeah, you were speaking early on about karma, the karma of karma. I was thinking that practically none of us is capable of practicing karma. The Lord saying, surrender unto me. And we basically have no knowledge of the Lord. So I was wondering, if one surrenders or takes shelter from the Lord's pure devotee, is that the same as surrendering to the Lord?
It is the exact same thing, yes. In fact, it's the only possibility, because it's a fact that through our own endeavor, we cannot know Krishna. Krishna is like a dream to us. But through Krishna's devotee, we can know Krishna. So Guru Maharaj would say that more important than the deity is developing the eye to see the deity. And that we develop by giving our submissive reception to the sadhu. The sadhu is the agent of the Lord in this world. So we see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna directly is Arjun's spiritual master, and he's instructing Arjun directly. So then why does he say to Arjun, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina? It would seem to be redundant that why and try to surrender to that sadhu. Surrender to the sadhu, inquire from him, and serve him, and he will reveal the truth to you because he's connected with that truth. So that would seem to be a redundant statement, because Krishna himself is Arjun's guru directly. But why he says that is because he's telling us through Arjun, this is the method by which divine revelation comes to you. Through the sadhu. Only through the sadhu. And through the scripture also. But what is the scripture if it's not the realization of the sadhu? The scripture is the manifestation of the words of the sadhu in written form. So either Shruti or Smriti, they are both that. But the scripture is passive to us. So when we study the scripture, we can misunderstand what we're reading. And the scripture won't correct you. Won't say, no, that's not what it means. It means this. But the sadhu will. When you discuss with the sadhu, is this the meaning? And the sadhu say, no, you've got that completely wrong. It means this. Or yes, that's correct. Your understanding is correct. So that in Vaishnav terminology, that's called book Bhagavat and person Bhagavat. So the book Bhagavat is the Srimad Bhagavatam and the scriptures in line with Srimad Bhagavatam. But the person Bhagavat is the person who embodies those scriptures, the person who lives the teaching of that scripture. He's the person Bhagavat. And more reliable and valuable to us is the association and service of the person Bhagavat. So this is the only method actually in this world to surrender to the Lord. There's no other possibility. Saraswati Thakur, when he would meet any sadhu, his question would always be, under whose direction do you serve Krishna? Under whose direction? You are serving directly, that is not acceptable. That is imagination. We're not to say that that's not possible. We see that is entirely possible in the example of Arjun, and he's getting that Upadesh directly from Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. But he's acting as our proxy there. But it is not the proper or the conventional way. The conventional way is, which has come down from time immemorial, is that you must find a master, a spiritual master. And everyone who's actually genuinely interested in spiritual life, they must come to this conclusion. So, Guru Maharaj would say that first is the acceptance of the creed. That yes, this knowledge, this devotion, everything that I've heard about, read about, I accept this as the path that is most appropriate for me and for everyone. So that's the first thing. But when you first come in connection with that, you're not so much concerned about where that's coming from. It's just the creed of it is there. But when you go deeper into the creed, then you realize that to realize this on a deeper level is necessary for me to surrender myself to Krishna. And not in an imagined way, but through his devotee. That's the only proper way, actually, to do that. And by surrendering to a sadhu and serving Krishna under the direction of a sadhu, that is considered to be actual bhajana kriya, the path of devotion in a practical and proper way. That real bhajana kriya doesn't begin until you're accepted by the sadhu. So it's both ways. First you accept the creed, then you find your spiritual master. But that must be reciprocated. The spiritual master must also accept you. So it's not sufficient just to say, oh, Prabhupada's my spiritual master. Prabhupada isn't here anymore. So you may accept him, but what's the guarantee that he accepts you? We know that he is a great Vaishnava and very compassionate and merciful. But that isn't the way. The way is of parampara. And parampara means one after the other. Literally it means that. So it is okay. It is okay. But we see this, right? One of our godbrothers and his wife, they came to Guru Maharaj. They were my friend. They are my friends. But they came to visit me in Navadvip. I was staying down on the land for some service to Guru Maharaj. So they found out I was there. They came to visit me there. And he asked me, we'd been friends for a long time in ISKCON and everything, but he'd never had initiation. So he asked me, what necessity is there to accept a spiritual master? And he says, quoting the scripture, the holy name doesn't wait for initiation, all these things, which are there, no doubt. But they're all examples of the exception to the rule, not the rule. So I said, well, I can tell you my opinion, but just 3 miles up the road is Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj in his ashram. Let's go and ask him this question. So he was up for that. And so we went and I arranged some time to introduce them to Guru Maharaj. And then he asked that same question. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, it's all right. What you say is all right. But my question to you is this, that if there is a sadhu, a genuine sadhu, and he's willing to extend his grace to you by accepting you as his student or as his disciple, why should you not accept that? When that's available to you, why you should not accept? In the world, it's very rare to meet a genuine sadhu. There are plenty out there who are looking to fleece their disciples of their money, But to a real, genuine sadhu, that's a very rare thing. And if you meet one, you should try to surrender to them. This is the advice of Upadeśāmṛta. This is the advice of Rupa Goswami. When he's describing the relationships between the devotees, who is initiated into the chanting of the holy name, or anyone who takes the holy name of Krishna with faith, you should honor them in your mind. This is Rupa Goswami's. Those who are initiated by a genuine spiritual master and take the name with faith, you should make your obeisance to them. But those devotees who are 100% devoted to the holy name of Krishna, who just by seeing them, the name of Krishna comes to your mouth, then you should, if you find such a devotee, you should try to give your life to that devotee. You should try and dedicate your whole self to that devotee. Then you will be benefited. But we know it's a very rare thing. So first acceptance of the creed, and then acceptance of the spiritual master. But the one is not possible without the other, or only to a certain degree. You can only have a spiritual life to a certain degree until it becomes imperative within you that you must find your master. It's a natural progression of spiritual life that will come to you. Where is my master? And Krishna says, when that feeling comes to you, I send that person to you. You'll come in connection with that person. Only you need to want that. And sometimes that happens, we don't even know we want that.
But only if somebody wants to go and they want to have a connection with the sadhu
Yeah.
or Krishna
Yeah.
or this religion. Otherwise, you're just going there and not enough faith. Then what do? You just pass your
Just
time.
wait, it'll come.
Pass your time.
Because spiritual life is progressive. It's not that
it takes time.
we're always in the same position.
All the time. It takes time.
Krishna,
Long time.
Krishna says, right, even the slightest connection with this path saves one from the greatest fear.
Yeah.
So, and there's no loss or diminution on this path. So whatever progress you make,
You need
that's
to
always
continue
there in your
next
spiritual
level
account.
as well.
Yeah, next life, or even later in this life, or it will come when it's mature within your consciousness. It'll come. So it's not that everyone is on the same level,
Yeah.
and not that that anyone or everyone should also be forced. Oh, you have to do this. You have to. No, it's a natural thing. And when a devotee comes to that stage in their life when they need the connection of their spiritual master, they need to find where is their spiritual master. Krishna will make that arrangement for them. And it's not about any type of sectarianism or organization or fashion or anything.
No, but Guru Parampara.
But it is faith. It's faith. So that leads us there. And Guru Maharaj say, we are messiahs of free faith. So faith has to have its natural flow. It isn't just like, well, this guru is in this area, you should become their disciple. Krishna is not restricted to only one. There may be many genuine gurus. And when you feel, this is the voice that told you in your heart, yes, this is real, this is true, this is a genuine thing. That same voice will guide you to your master.
Is genuine Guru follow his Guru or not?
Of course.
So it comes in Guru Parampara.
Of course. Every guru, every genuine guru is first and foremost a genuine disciple.
Yeah.
So without that, there's no question. And Srila Maharaj, he says, actually, that the only reason you can reject a Vaishnava is not because they have some physical fall or weakness or something like that, but if that Vaishnava teaches something different to what their guru teaches, if they begin to teach a different path, something which is against devotion, that's the only reason why you should reject that person.
And
So,
it should be both sides. It is the Guru.
yeah, of course. So it's recommended to examine
Yeah.
that person, and they should examine you.
Yes.
It is, but it is a natural thing, and it shouldn't be forced, and it should be the choice of that person.
Just comes with the flow.
Link to that, the first question of Ramaswamy Prabhu is
Yeah.
that, that's true. Like you need a guru, but then like when you are into this process, you need to be very careful. Like
Yes.
first you accept that creed.
Yes.
You're coming to temple and this that, and many devotees they find different things, different ideologies. Sometimes they move out.
Yeah.
Some of them taking initiation from something which is like they just like for the first time. Like every step becomes very like razors.
Yeah. No. What I say, and I've said it many times, is that it's the most serious and important thing in your life. Who you accept as your guru, your spiritual master. It shouldn't be done in any light way at all. You shouldn't be like railroaded along because somebody, that's the fashion here. Or it's when you understand that you require to find your spiritual master, that is an entirely personal thing. Because it's like if you decide to marry, you don't just walk out in the street and grab the first girl that walks by, say, okay, let's get married. Nobody does that, do they? That would be like insanity. And whether you marry in the like traditional Indian arrangement or everything, still there has to be some, you have to look and see, this is a fit person or not. So, you know, in any way, or if that marriage is the Western style, still, when you meet that person, you have to find out, are we compatible with each other? And, you know, some examination of each other. Can we make a life together? And that's just marriage, right? That's just a mundane thing in the world that everybody does, basically. But nobody would just jump into that without any consideration, or we hope they wouldn't. I know there's a television program that's like Married at First Sight or some crazy thing. But, you know, in reality, normal, sensible people, they don't jump into that. And if they do, you know, there's a saying, isn't it? Marry in haste, repent at your leisure, you know. So you need to be clear about that. This is a good match for me. This person will be a good wife. This person will be a good husband. Before you enter into that relationship. And even then, there's no guarantee that it's going to be successful. And that's just marriage, right? And the relationship between spiritual master and disciple is so much more important than that, actually, because it's your connection for eternal life. You know, your marriage is usually till death do us part, isn't it? You know, but the guru-disciple relationship is an eternal relationship, and so we must be very cautious and clear about that. And it doesn't mean that if you make one choice that another choice is, you know, that everyone else is bad. It's just that, you know, we have a certain compatibility. The girl that I marry may be completely suitable for me, but may be a disaster if you were to marry them. You understand? So similarly, gurus have different temperaments, different moods and so on. But as long as they're qualified, that should be the first thing. And then you see if there's some sympathetic relationship there, that you have some feeling towards that person in the proper way, then you can make that.
And then I was reading that there are like, it's not only just one guru in the sense, of course, you can have one initiating guru, but
Yeah.
You know, everywhere. Like,
No, that's right. But that's a more developed idea of guru. The initial idea is, you know, the Diksha guru can only be one. But Shiksha guru can be many. And Shiksha is more important than Diksha, actually. It is important that you have Diksha, and that your Diksha guru is a proper qualified devotee. But once you have that connection, as important as that, more important than that, is the Shiksha. And that Shiksha may not be necessarily your main Shiksha comes from your Diksha guru. May not, often it is, but it may not be. It may be wherever a genuine Vaishnava is, you can take Shiksha there. That's you see, remember when we were in Villa Govinda in Italy, one of the devotees there, he was a disciple of, a guru, a Vaishnava in good standing. But after he met Srila Govinda Maharaj, he realized, oh, my guru is not like this guru. You understand? This is like another level of guru. And then he thought to himself, oh, I made a mistake. I should have become his disciple and not this Vaishnava's disciple. So he asked me, through the devotees there, can you ask Govinda Maharaj if he will reinitiate me? I want to be his disciple. And I said, well, I'll ask him, Prabhu. But I know who his guru is, and he's a Vaishnava in good standing. He may not be Govinda Maharaj, but still he's a good Vaishnava. And so I discussed with Govinda Maharaj, and Maharaj was like, it's impossible. I cannot give reinitiation to someone whose guru is in good standing. That would be aparad to that Vaishnava for me to do that. But he's like, oh, I don't want him to be despondent and become discouraged. Then I said, Maharaj, you can say you can be his Shiksha guru. Then Maharaj said, yes, the Shiksha guru, that's very good. Then I gave him that reply. But Gurudev told, but he must write to his Diksha guru and get permission that he can take Shiksha from me. And we know that Vaishnava, his guru, and he wrote back to him, I'm very happy if you take Shiksha from Govinda Maharaj. I have no problem with that at all.
Why a person takes only Diksha Guru once only? Why?
Because it's the giving of the mantra is not necessary to be given the same mantra by more than one person. If your Diksha Guru becomes fallen, like completely, you know, if your Diksha Guru started working in McDonald's or something, you know, then maybe you should think this may not be a very secure connection. But it's like it's receiving the mantra. He received that mantra from his guru. Now you're receiving from him as your guru. That mantra is coming in Guru Parampara. No problem with that. As long as that, you know, Vaishnava is in good standing, there's no problem with that. And even you may understand, he may not be the highest Vaishnava, but the mantra has come in Guru Parampara. Mantra, it's not like big mantra, small mantra. Same mantra.
Mantra is for them.
So Diksha means mantra guru, who gives the mantra to the disciple. But the mantra is fed by Shiksha, the proper understanding, Sambandha Gyan. And any qualified Vaishnava can do that, can give that. There's no restriction to that. But some protocol is also there, that as Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj told him, you ask permission from your Diksha Guru, is it all right? You know, actually he doesn't need to say that, Govinda Maharaj. He's Paramahansa Vaishnava. He doesn't need to say that, but out of respect for that devotee, he said, you ask his permission. And that devotee knows Govinda Maharaj very well, that guru, and he's very happy to do that.
So Gurudev asked Amrita Leela as well,
Yeah.
because he already had his Diksha.
Yeah,
And he wanted to take from Gurudev. Gurudev said, okay, you ask him.
yeah. So, yes, Prabhu.
See, sometimes people accept other Shiksha Gurus, but it deviates them off the path. So what should the guide be by taking different Shiksha Gurus?
Yeah, as I say, normally, your Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru are the same person, almost always. But after your Guru has left the world, and then you will need to find Shiksha from someone else. But the guide will be that they are in the same line. They're in the same line of thought, so to say, you know. And if you do not know, if you're not experienced, because someone may look the same, and you know wear the same tilak, worship the same deity, read the same books, but their conception may be deviant. It's true, but you may not be able to detect that. And if they're very charismatic, you may be attracted to hear from them. But the first criterion will be, what did my Gurudev think about that person? That will be the first criteria. And then if that's also not clear, then you can consult with those Vaishnavas you consider to be superior to you. I'm thinking that I should go and hear from this sadhu. What do you say? What do you think? And they will say, oh yeah, he was this, or he's very good, or you can hear from him, or, well, you know, Gurudev thought this about him, and he said this, and, you know, you have to be discriminating. Otherwise, it's a free-for-all. Actually, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he gave chastisement to Goswami Maharaj, right? Because, you know, Goswami Maharaj, he produced Sri Guru in his grace. Everything you want to know about Guru Tattva is in that book. Srila Sridhar Maharaj's talks about Guru Tattva. But Srila Govinda Maharaj said, but your first chapter should have been chastity to Sri Guru. Now, not that you just go like a tourist, this one, that one, everyone, you know. That first principle is chastity to your Guru. And but it was necessary at that time, because Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he begins by offering obeisance to Gurum. That means the Gurus, not the Guru, the Gurus. So guru means diksha guru and shiksha guru. But the danger is that you open the floodgates and then people think they can go and hear from anyone and everyone. But that is never recommended. We should be, to hear from anyone, you should be cautious. What are their credentials? Who is their guru? What do they teach? And most importantly, what did my guru think about that person? It's sad to say, but we know, right, that Ramanujacharya, he preached against Shankaracharya's Mayavad conception, and very soundly defeated Shankara's philosophy, as did Madhvacharya.
Yeah.
But they are both famous for that. But within one generation after the disappearance of Ramanujacharya, a branch came off their sampradaya, and they're known as Ramanadis. And their guru, who's like a disciple of Ramanuja, maybe 2 generations, he went back to Shankara's conception of oneness. But if you go to their temple, they look the same. Same tilak, same dress, same scripture, same deity. Vaikuntanath, Bhu and Śrī, the same worship, everything looks exactly the same. But what they teach is completely the opposite of what Ramanuja taught. So then you have to, as Guru Maharaj said, you have to consider what is the conception that they are teaching, not just the external show that they are giving. So we see, even in our Sampradaya, our own Gaudiya Sampradaya, after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his disciples preached pure Krishna consciousness. But some of their disciples, they are telling, many things contrary to the Siddhanta of Saraswati Thakur.
Yeah.
You can say, Saraswati Thakur, Guru Maharaj said, my Guru Maharaj, 90% of his preaching was to show what is not Krishna consciousness. And now some in the same dress, in the same even lineage, they're teaching the opposite of that. And it is very unfortunate. So it is necessary for us to guard our devotion, to be careful about who we hear from. It is important, and not just to accept everybody and anybody.
I was thinking about the other type of Goswamis in Vrindavan, like what to speak about them if in our own lineage.
Sure.
This, so much deviation can come.
Well, remember, Mahaprabhu himself told to Raghunath Das Goswami, don't wear fancy clothes, don't eat fancy food, and don't associate very closely with the Brij-Basis. And why he told that? Because not everyone who lives in Vrindavan is actually, in Krishna consciousness. We see, it's an unfortunate thing, but we see most of the temples in Vrindavan, the priests there are trying to rob you of your money when you go there. That's their business. So we don't disrespect them. They may be, Advaita Paribar, or, whoever they may be descendant of, those families that run those temples, and we honor them for that. But we don't necessarily want to hear from them, because their conception may not be pure, purely in the line of Mahaprabhu. As soon as money comes into the equation, that we need to make some money from the devotees who are coming here, then it becomes adulterated. But not all.
Are like that.
Yeah.
Devotee paying money, their respect. So
Some devotee does as well.
Yeah.
Like last week in Facebook, senior devotee, they saying, this Maha Mantra, Krishna is supposed to be first or Ram is supposed to be first, when you start chanting.
Right.
And other person saying, it should be Ram before, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has changed it. But if we are really devotee, we should believe our Gurudev, what he has given to us, that mantra.
Sure.
We said, why we have to
question.
Focus on the Krishna first or Ram.
Yeah.
If it's Ram is first, still is okay because
It's
Radha
outside.
Ramana Ram is.
Yes, that's right. Conception is everything, and that is the important thing. The sambandha is the important thing. So, so many people have their idea, but they may not have any realization about that. One of our devotees, before, in the early days of the internet, they used to have this thing was called internet relay chat. You probably remember, some of you remember, right? These were like rooms that you could go into and it'd have some conversation. People would log in and, have these conversations there. So one of our devotees, he wants to set up one internet relay chat room, Chaitanya Saraswat. He asked Gurudev, and Gurudev said, for what purpose? And people can come and they can ask some question about Krishna consciousness. Okay, very good. But who will give the answer? The Gurudev asked. Who will be the person to give the answer? The devotee said, whoever's there, they can tell something, their opinion. And Gurudev said, no, not in name of Chaitanya Saraswat. Who will give the answer? That must be a proper person.
Yes.
Then that must be one of our established Vaishnavas. They will give the proper Siddhanta. Otherwise it becomes like just anyone's opinion. My opinion's as good as your opinion, and then it's nothing. That means nothing. So that's the world we live in, right? Where everybody thinks that everyone's opinion is as valuable as everybody else's opinion. I told my friend, she was asking me, like, why you only worship Krishna? Why don't you worship all the gods? And she's not just talking Hindu gods, she's talking like Isis and, like every conception of God you can imagine. She said, I embrace all of that, all of it, she told me. And I said, but actually that means you don't embrace anything. To say you believe in everything means you believe in nothing. Because they don't all agree with one another. Then we have to see what is the truth, and we have to stand for the truth. So the line of thought is the all-important thing. Diksha, Shiksha, all of these things, they're all within that. The proper line of thought, and the proper line of thought is, in our conception, is Bhakti Vinod Parivar. What Bhakti Vinod Thakur came to establish in the world, and what was widely propagated by his son Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then by his disciples all over the world. That's what spread Krishna consciousness. Some others may say anything. They may say so many things, but the proof is in the pudding, right? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. How many of those Jati Goswamis and all the rest of it have been able to spread Krishna consciousness around the world? None, isn't it? None. Maybe they have some followers in Vrindavan or here or there or anywhere, but how many of them have been able to spread Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness all over the world? No one could do that. And only he was able to do that because he made himself empty of anything but the desire of his Gurudev. So that's the real, first and foremost, he's the genuine disciple of his Guru. And that's what empowers one to spread Krishna consciousness. And nothing else, and no one else. So anyone can say their opinion is this, their opinion is that. But let them be able to show how they've established Krishna consciousness in the world. Then we'll listen to them.
Now they're trying a bit, going outside of Vrindavan.
Yeah, but actually the fact is they're all on the tail of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Using what he's established, they're taking that.
Some people are trying to go to the temple. The temple says no, not here. Yeah.
Like I took Prabhupada as my Diksha, then I realized he's the right Guru. Right? But then I met Govinda Maharaj, then I realized it took me 2 years to take it easy.
Yeah, it is.
And then I thought, I'm gonna write.
Who is sincere, they will be able to see where is the current, and this is what Guru Maharaj is told, right? That our Guru Parampara, it's not Diksha Guru Parampara, it's Shiksha Guru Parampara. And Guru Maharaj uses the example of in science, right? Where the line of thought goes from Newton to Einstein. So there may be many different scientists in between, but the train of thought is clearly shown from Newton's line of thought to Einstein's line of thought, and the other may be eliminated from that. So also in our Guru Parampara, we see many gurus, but sometimes there's 100 or 200 years between this one and the next one. It doesn't mean there were no gurus, but what was their contribution to that line of thought? Then that we have to see. Like Madhvacharya, in our line, Madhvacharya, and then after Madhvacharya, there's like, before Madhvacharya, Vyasadeva, Madhvacharya. But there's like nearly 1,000 years between Vyasadeva and Madhvacharya. Of course, it's said that Madhva met Vyasadeva in the Himalayas and heard from him.
But minute ago you were just saying that Diksha Guru is not important. Mantra, what he is giving, that's important. The mantra is going to take.
No, Diksha Guru is
Diksha
important.
Guru and Shiksha Guru, either who is teaching you the truth,
Yeah.
proper, that one is important.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Diksha, as I say before, Diksha and Shiksha may be the same person. And usually they are.
Yeah.
They are substantially. But it doesn't mean that it's limited there. But Diksha Guru can only be one. In this life, only one. But Shiksha Guru can be many. If they are genuine and they're in the same line of thought. This is only natural thing.
If Diksha and Shiksha Guru come from same Guru Parampara, then it's all right.
Yeah, but even then you will have to see what they are teaching. What they are teaching. You know, anyway, now we should stop and we should continue the arti and take prasadam. Otherwise I can talk all day, you know.